Hey guys, Lexus Driver here. Now, you might think this is going to be the same video I did the last time, but the reason I'm making this video is because I'm too excited for The Bad Guys 2. As a disclaimer, once again, I haven't watched it yet, but I am looking forward to watching it. But what I'd like to talk about is more of my favorite my favorite villain, Kitty Cat, and when I say that my favorite villain is Kitty Cat over Professor Marmalade, um, Professor Marmalade, he is an antagonist, but I'm gonna say he's the true main antagonist of the franchise because when you have a main antagonist, you gotta have an antagonist who's a much bigger threat to than any of the antagonists the protagonist the protagonist, the deuteragonist, and the protagonist face. Now, the reason why I truly believe, well, I wouldn't say true. I hate to say truly believe because I need to have some more confirmation. But the reason why I strongly believe that Professor Marmalade is going to be the true main antagonist of the entire franchise is because Professor Marmalade, he has much bigger plans compared to Kitty Cat. Kitty Cat, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure there's a good. I'm pretty sure it's likely Professor Marmalade used Kitty Cat as a test in order to do his ultimate plans, which could eventually lead to a moral event horizon. And Kitty Cat, as I said, Kitty Cat is my favorite villain compared to Professor Marmalade. She is designed for you to hate, but also designed that she will have a future in the third film if this film becomes a trilogy. Now, what I was like, wondering, like, when it comes to when the third film comes into fruition, and but still under the talks and maybe under development and whatnot. I really hope that Kitty Cat will reappear in the third film as a secondary antagonist, but eventually she'll switch sides and she'll learn the errors of her ways and switch sides because Kitty Cat, if she was introduced as a secondary antagonist, she would initially work with Professor Marmalade, but I guarantee that Professor Marmalade is going to screw over Kitty Cat, just like how he screwed over Mr. Wolf. Because in the first film, I'm going to say a bit of a spoiler for those who haven't watched the first film. This isn't the second film, so this is the first film. What I'm basically saying is, if Kitty Cat if Kitty Cat reappears in the third film, which I'm pretty sure I hope she will, considering that she's already a fan favorite villainess. If she was introduced as the secondary antagonist in the third film, I guarantee you that she's going to be working with Professor Marmalade. But remember about Professor Marmalade. Professor Marmalade, this guy, he's designed for you to hate. Sure, I'm pretty sure Kitty Cat's personality is also designed for you to hate, but in my personal opinion, Kitty Cat is my favorite villain over Professor Marmalade. I prefer Kitty Cat over Professor Marmalade because Professor Marmalade, he's much more threatening compared to Kitty Cat. I mean, sure, you can say Kitty Cat has a temper and personality, but Professor Marmalade has much bigger plans than Kitty Cat, and he's a much bigger threat. I'm gonna say that to the back of my head that. Professor Marmalade has much bigger plans than Kitty Cat. He's much more threatening. He's a menace to society, and there's a good chance. If Kitty Cat, like I said, if Kitty Cat is introduced as a secondary antagonist, I guarantee you that once she works with Professor Marmalade, she is going to be gaining some loyalty, but eventually, I guarantee you that Professor Marmalade is going to screw over Kitty Cat. Like, did Kitty Cat honestly think that Professor Marmalade will split his empire if he does take over the world with Kitty Cat? Really? Professor Marmalade would have screwed over Kitty Cat just like how he screwed over Mr. Wolf. Now, the first time I saw Professor Marmalade, as I said, this character, he's really designed for you to hate, and I guarantee you he's going to have much bigger plans than Kitty Cat. And regarding to what I said regarding to what I said that Professor Marmalade screwing over Kitty Cat, eventually Kitty Cat will learn the errors of her ways and then switch sides and join Mr. Wolf's team. But for now, I'm not in a position to forgive her yet because of all the horrible things she did in the sequel. According to a lot of sources I read, but I haven't watched the film yet, but I will be looking forward to it. And once I finish watching it in theaters, I'll give my thoughts and then reinforce my belief that Professor Marmalade is going to be the true main antagonist of the sequel. The true main antagonist of the entire Bad Guys franchise. What else? Also regarding what I said about a true main antagonist, and also you have an antagonist of a specific story. A true main antagonist, I would say, one example would be Darth Sidious in Star Wars. Darth Vader, he is an antagonist, but he's an antagonist for a specific episode. But even though Darth Vader's an antagonist, as an example, Darth Sidious, he's the true main antagonist of the entire Star Wars saga, the Star Wars Skywalker saga, because for a true main antagonist, you gotta have the antagonist who's much more threatening, much more menacing, has bigger plans, and the character who. And also the antagonist who just only cares about himself. He doesn't care about anybody. Kitty Cat, on the other hand, she does fit those. But in the sequel. But I hope that in the future third film she's going to reappear as a secondary antagonist, but eventually she'll switch side. She'll realize the errors of her ways and then switch sides and eventually join Mr. Wolf's team. Because eventually, as I said about Professor Marmalade, he's the true main antagonist of the series. This guy, I guarantee, anybody working with Professor Marmalade, I guarantee you that Professor Marmalade is going to screw them over. So in the first film of the Bad Guys, Mr. Wolf and his friends sided with Professor Marmalade in order to learn how to be good model citizens. But eventually, Professor Marmalade screwed them over. Well, mostly he screwed over Mr. Wolf. He also, Professor Marmalade, he screwed over Mr. Snake, he screwed over Mr. Shark, he screwed over Mr. Piranha, and he screwed over Mr. Tarantula. But mostly, I would say he screwed over Mr. Wolf. And for the third film, I really hope that what I'm talking about would likely come to fruition, and I really hope Kitty Cat will appear, because Kitty Cat, as I said, is now my favorite villain. Is now my favorite villain in the Bad Guys franchise. My favorite villain over Professor Marmalade. So as I said, for the third film, which I hope this could be likely to a certain extent. Kitty Cat introduced as the secondary antagonist, but Professor Marmalade, midway through the film, Professor Marmalade reveals his true colors and screws over Kitty Cat. And Kitty Cat, she realizes the errors of her ways, and eventually switch sides. I hope she's going to she's gonna turn good in the future third film because I love the character design. I love the character dynamics. I really hope she's gonna reappear in the third film. But eventually, like, as a secondary antagonist, and then eventually get screwed over, and eventually switch sides with and eventually join Mr. Wolf's team. But yeah, overall, and also let me know in the comments down below if you guys if you guys agree with me that this should be how Kitty Cat's story should go for the future third film. But I'm really excited, and and I know it's too early to be talking about this, but I'm just so excited. I really, I'm really starting to become obsessed with Kitty Cat. I'm still thinking of really good fan art for the bad guys, but I'm still trying to hone my skills of drawing humans and anthropomorphic characters. But in summary, Kitty Cat. I choose Kitty Cat over Professor Marmalade, and Professor Marmalade, I guarantee you that he's going to screw over Kitty Cat. Kitty Cat working with Professor Marmalade, well, working for or working with Professor Marmalade, I guarantee you that Professor Marmalade is going to screw her over. 100%, he's going to screw her over, just like how he screwed over Mr. Wolf and his friends. Well, particularly how he screwed over he screwed over Mr. Wolf. So, Professor Marmalade, I really don't like this character. I know he's a true main antagonist. He's designed for you to hate, but I'm pretty sure this guy he's really gonna screw anybody over. He's gonna screw anybody working with him over. Anybody working with him, he's gonna screw him over. So yeah. That's all I have this video. Like I said, the reason why I made this video is because I'm too excited. I just want to get this off my chest. But okay. Anyway, guys, that's all I have this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe and be sure you hit that notification bell so you can stay updated on new content I post on my YouTube channel. But anyway, guys, that's all I have this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye, and have a good day, everybody.